Welcome back, gang. Welcome to the third week of these. God, look at me. I look like one of those trekkers that have run across the continent of Africa, but without any sort of achievement. I need to groom. I was going to buzz my hair, but everybody in my life told me that was a bad idea. And the reason I buzz my hair is that A, I can't really afford to go to barber, but that is kind of secondary to, for me, it is kind of like a determination thing to prove to myself and no one else that this is my focus. But what I realised, actually the bigger challenge, and I have grown my hair before, and I grew it just the top, and over the years, over the couple of years that I was growing it, it got thinner and thinner as we shaved the sides more and more. But I'm just going to grow it out, and so it is a real mess at the moment. And I realise that's more of a challenge than it is to buzz it. At the same time, it doesn't cost me anything as well. So it does mean that I've got to keep it under a cap to keep it a bit more ruly. So that is why I wear a cap in these videos. Let's get stuck in. We're on the third Sunday of January. So far, so good. If you're new here, I'm on a mission to rewire the food industry, allowing us to produce, purchase and support good, sustainable food. My starting point is building the infrastructure to do that, and I'm building a platform to allow merchants like myself to be able to sell and buy from the local area, and to be able to quickly and easily spin up things like cooperatives, rely on one another to support for labour or for trade or for delivery, and just basically try and build ecosystems of providers, and then make it super easy for people who want to buy local and sustainable to buy local and sustainable food, taking a step away from the over commercialised food industry we are currently relying on, which we've already proven to be incredibly fragile, and in a world that is constantly changing at the moment. I am a big believer that food and building communities is where we're going to start, where we need to start to be able to see a future where we get back to being human again. I've got three main projects that I work on and we talk through here. Number one is the farm and the livestock that we've got here, which is kind of a proof of concept. And then we talk about my socials, which are predominantly TikTok, where he's got my largest following, but it's still only about 45,000. And then the last is the platform and what we're up to there. So we'll get stuck in. I realised that we have jumped in at the deep end last 2 weeks, as I always do, and I'm an expert at. But I thought I would introduce you to the farm that we run today. So we have currently got a herd of 20 Australian lowline cattle. And effectively what Australian lowline are, they're miniature Aberdeen Angus. And the purpose of these is to be able to increase the amount of meat per acre. And so their carcasses are smaller and their yield is therefore bigger, even though they're the smaller animals. They're also easy to manage. I've never had a problem with any of this lot. We've also only ever helped one calve in the whole history that we've had these animals, and that was still an Aberdeen Angus as well. So we're now on 63, 64 calves. We've got 6 this year who've freshly weaned, who are over on the small field, who have been grazing my nice new grass. We're now feeding them hay every day because there's not enough grass left, but they're doing really well. The whole herd is doing much better than it was this time last year. If you're not aware, hay this year is a real finite commodity. I was just in the animal feed shop this week, and I saw that they are only selling maximum 10 bales of hay per person, which just proves the state of the times. We have got a hay barn full of hay, so fingers crossed, if we can get the cattle out end of February, beginning of March, we should be okay. But that is a tall order, and the weather at the moment has been so unpredictable, so we'll see. Their condition is good. It's not perfect, and we've got 2 older cows that we feed every day. We pull out and feed cereal every day, which aren't grass-fed, which is the only cattle on the property that aren't 100% grass-fed. But I was walking down the road this week, and the condition of the cows is looking good, so we just need to keep that up. We want them to be in good condition to go into spring grass, then they can get into really good condition to then calve through the summer, or for the steers to go off and be harvested. But the big project for the year is to try and find enough grazing for the herd of 20 cows, so that's 14 over sort of 18 months, and then 6 under sort of 10 months. We've got to find grazing for them all so that we can keep them off the grassland here, so we can then hay this grassland in the summer, and then we'll bring them on and then we'll winter them here. So the goal is to get spring, early summer grazing for 20 cows, which I think is doable. We've got the plantation, which we did last year, which I absolutely adored. Having the cows in the wild, in the woodland there was quite special, so we're going to get them back out there this year. but I don't know how long that will sustain 20 cows for. We'll probably take a big chunk of the herd down there this year, but we just got to outlast, we've got to outlast the winter with hay, and then we're going to find grazing for them. So those are the big projects for the cattle. We then have got 350 laying hens in 2 different houses. We've got L1, who is from the older flock. They're now, some of them up to 2 years old. And then we've got L2, who is a bigger flock of 200 birds. And they're just coming in to lay, or they have been in the lay for the last month or two. Laying really well. We got to 136 eggs, I want to say, 2 days ago, which was really good. They are a mixed flock. Now, if you want birds to get lay eggs, you buy hybrids. You buy a commercial hybrid. You want to get Isa Browns, Warrens, Boven Browns, or just the White Leghorns as well. So if we wanted to just get egg production, we would go through with the hybrids. But the principle of what I'm trying to do here is trying to improve sustainability. Now, if you have hybrids, you can't just breed hybrids. And actually what often is the case is the hybrids that we receive are actually mixtures of 2 different parents. The hybrid chick, and then that hybrid chick won't actually breed pure. We're trying to breed pure so that we can then develop what's called a dual purpose breed, where we've got the hens and the cockerels are big enough to eat, big enough to make meat, and they also lay eggs. Now, in an ideal world, that means you get lots of meat and lots of eggs. In reality, you get less eggs and less meat. So we are trying to navigate that. And actually, in hindsight, I probably wouldn't be trying to do that battle as well as trying to build a small farm and the platform and sort the cattle herd out and build a social following, etc., etc. However, it does mean that I'm a couple of years into now building a pretty good breeding program, and so we have actually got a house full of cockerels at the moment. These are my beautiful black copper Morans. Now, some of them you can see here are a bit more golden than they are copper. But that is just breeding that we'll get through, and fortunately we now have hundreds of birds to breed from, so it will allow us to speed up our selective breeding. So I will put these cockerels in end of this month. They will then go out and we will collect eggs at the beginning of February. So they're going to go and join L2, they're going to breed for a week or 2, and then they will come back in. I'm not entirely sure what all the boys are going to do. I probably will cull out the golden necked ones and keep the copper necked ones. Housing wise, that is in the middle of building the next phase of chicken house, which really works for me. He needed a project, and he loves the engineering challenges, and so he is building a trailer project, which is effectively one step up from what we've got in the polytunnels. It is a hell of a project that he's taken on. We'll probably build 2 of them in the future, but it is keeping him busy as well as testing his brain, because there's a lot going on there. So he, for an 80-year-old, he's doing incredibly well, and that is also helping me a lot because he is keeping that wheel of. Lost my necklace. That wheel is in motion. Fuck knows where that is. That keeps that project moving whilst I focus on all the other stuff that's going on. We've still got to track down a new flock after I've lost the other flock. I still need to sort that out. That is actually a big problem that I'm just putting off for the moment. But we need 300 hens to arrive in March or so to then continue the growth that we need to be able to actually earn enough money to call this a business rather than a hobby. But we'll get there. On that though, we've also now got a surplus of eggs, and I've got, especially the small eggs, I've got eggs coming out my ears. So I need to figure out how I'm going to get through that quantity. And so I have got someone who will take 400 eggs a week. However, they want large eggs, and the girls aren't producing that many large eggs at the moment. So I've got small to medium-sized eggs coming out my ears. I'm going to start clump collect eggs the first week of February, and so my goal is to set up a collection point here in sort of Essex area. I've spoken to the local butcher, and I'll set up a collection point there and see if there will be any interest from TikTok, or indeed from any other of the platforms. Not convinced there will be, but lots of people have expressed interest in the past, so we'll see if there are enough local people, or localish, that people that want to come and collect eggs will. I need to sell a few trays a week and I'll be okay, but we have got quite a backlog at the moment. There's also a charity that I'm working with, the food from, which I can also donate to. I'm just waiting for the latest test on salmonella to come back just before I start shipping them too far and wide. This weekend we were also hedging, and this is a perfect example of why I lose days here, because they just disappear. But spent 2 days laying a hedge. If anyone's not familiar with what laying a hedge is, and this, whilst we're very pleased with what we've done here, it's not a perfect example of laying a hedge. But the reason you layer hedge is it basically turns into a living fence. So rather than chopping down the trees and killing them, you cut into them and then you bend them over. You then twine and twist them into each other, and then it becomes a living hedge that then becomes fuller and fuller, theoretically, if you don't keep killing the trees accidentally like I was in some places. But that becomes fuller and fuller, and it's great for nesting birds and also keeping in the cattle. There's a couple of spaces where we need to plant some trees, and I'll probably plant some hazel or something in there as well, because hazel stakes are just great for everything in general. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff I absolutely adore doing, and these are the things I want us to get back to as communities. This should be something that a community comes together to do, but it just takes a lot of time. It took 2 days to do probably 50 meters of hedgerow, and it takes a lot of time and energy and effort. But if we can build an ecosystem where we can produce food in a sustainable way on a smaller scale, we will have time to do this stuff, because we'll be able to afford to hire people to work with us. We'll be able to afford to build groups of community that maybe, that we're just working groups that can go out, and we give a shit about this sort of stuff. It's the dream. It might not be the reality, but a boy can dream. That leads on to socials, which haven't changed at all. I haven't posted anything on TikTok. And like I say, I'm going to start again, come collect these with me in February. Maybe start introducing them to the platform, depending on how far along I've got with that. Then with the platform itself, I've actually got the demo is now live, and the UI is now live. It's still a straw man. What straw man means is it is visually all there, however it's got no content. If you press a button, that action doesn't happen in the back end. I just wanted to get the flow of the UI working, understand how it all will look before I plug in all the API. There are still some gaps in the API as well, and I've got a problem at the moment where I changed quite a fundamental. I changed from users to customers. I wanted to extrapolate out a layer, which I should have done ages ago, but I got there eventually. But all of my tests are now failing for some reason or another. Which I will actually just send it to continue to fix. But still on track, maybe, to be live by February. I've realised I've got to do all of the documentation, so like contracts, terms of service, both external, so for merchants, between the platform and merchants, and then also similar to Shopify, be able to spin up a suggested, and be very careful with my wordings when I present them, a suggested terms of service for the platforms for their customers as well. So I've got a lot of work to do. I've also got to get it live. I've got to host it in a secure and stable way, and so research all that as well. But so far so good. So you're all caught up on this week. Apologies, it's still not very exciting, but I appreciate you as always, and I'll see you next week.